Tony. Here we are for your follow-up lesson. I'm going to describe some of the things we want you to be working on here in my garage today, and then I'm going to add some video from the range to demonstrate some of the things that we're talking about. So, first thing that I want you to notice, that we need to improve is just getting a little bit more ground force, into your swing, like I talked about in the assessment videos. And you just look like you're standing, a little bit tall, a little bit light, throughout your golf swing without really getting back into the ground. And so there's a couple ways of doing this. Some people get the feeling that, and again, you're a front anchor golfer, so we want to do this in a front anchor manner. Some people feel like they load into the ground as they go up to the top of the backswing. And so as the arms and hands go up, they feel like they're literally pushing down into the ground. Their weight or their pressure is a better way of saying it, into their feet, into the ground. In your case, as a front anchor golfer, we'd like to see that happen a little bit more on that front foot. But even, some on both feet's okay. As you go up to the top of the backswing, if anything, a little bit more on the front foot or 50-50 as you go to the top of the backswing. As you make the transition then, you can get the feeling that, even if you've got a little bit of weight into the ground at this point, that you can get a little bit more into that front foot into the transition. And getting that weight into that front foot is going to actually give you a little bit more time to get your arms back down in front of you as you make that transition as well. You have a tendency during the downswing, even though you get into your left side, is to get your hands back here a little bit more off your right side instead of in front of you. You've improved it tremendously because you were a lot further back before. And even though you drop your hands here by your right side, obviously they have to pass your right side on the way to get to center. So you're on your way to going there, and you actually get back to center linkage by the time you're at impact now. And that's actually the most critical thing. If you're a center linkage golfer, you got to be center linked at impact. If you're rear linked at impact or front linked at impact, that ball is really going to be starting offline. So the fact that you've got yourself back to center link at impact is a really good thing. We just like you to see if you can get that club a little bit more in front of your stomach coming down. So by the time you start to turn in towards impact, that's when we see the hands are a little bit more in front. So they're in front of you a little bit more during delivery and at impact. And that'll actually help you keep it more in front of you as you go all the way around your finish as well. So once we get linked up, we want you to stay linked up through impact into your full extension. And the sooner you get linked up, the sooner you can keep all that moving together in your golf swing. Okay? So the first thing is, again, is that I want you to get a little bit more ground force, feel a little heavier on your feet as you go up, feel a little bit more in that left foot coming down, and that's going to allow you to get those arms to drop a little bit more in front. So as you come into delivery and impact, that you feel like you're definitely a center linkage golfer. Now, one of the things I want you to understand as a center linkage golfer is that at impact, your hips will be less turned than what's traditionally or conventionally taught. If we look at rear linkage golfers, they get connected here to the right side. As they turn into the ball, you can see it's like the whole right side is turning to help deliver that club into impact. Look at a player like Jim Furyk. He does that. He's a high tracker and everything, but he drops it in and then he really rotates and squeezes his knees together to make sure that that rear linkage action is really, the body's delivered it through impact. When you look at a front linkage golfer, when the arms drop down, they're a little bit more in front. So when they come into impact, they're going to be a little less turned. Now my hips are turned, here at impact, and we do want them open, some 20, 30 degrees, as we move through the ball, which is a little different than a lot of golfers that have it open closer to 40 or 45 degrees, if they're rear linkage. If we look at front linkage golfers, for example, when they come into impact, they even look like they're less turned at impact. They look like they're closer to square with the hips, maybe slightly open. So again, everything happens in a matter of degrees. Front linkage golfers are going to have square to slightly open hips at impact. Center linkage golfers will have just a little bit more open, hips, at impact. And then as we move to rear linkage golfers, they have a lot of open hips at impact. So one of the tendencies is, if we go up to the top of the backswing and your arms are dropping, your hips try to turn too soon, that's going to leave you back here where it's more of a rear linkage alignment, and then the arms have to catch up. So to combat that, or to help you get a better feeling of how the hips are working with this center linkage action, we want to make sure that the hips are almost pausing. You know, or as you're pushing your weight down into your left foot, your hips will delay their turn and that'll allow you to get your arms more in front of you, so that once they're in front of you, now you can start to turn your hips as you come into impact. Okay? And of course, those degrees I'm talking about as far as how open or closed the hips are for front, center, and rear linkage golfers, it actually has a lot to do with the golfer's flexibility, how fast their hips are. It also has to do with the actual swing technique that they're using. More rotary golfers will be more open than pendulum golfers and stuff like that. So, you know, don't take those, you know, those numbers and write them in stone. The point is that, you know, your hips need to be moderately open at impact, being that you're a center linkage golfer. And what we need to do is have the feel of your hips are open enough in the backswing so that you can get your arms more in front of you coming down, so that you can really, you know, feel fully linked up delivery action all the way up to your full extension, and then the swing will go around from there. Okay? So, you know, that's just a little bit about how your hips work, you know, in relation to your center linkage action.